Welcome back, guys. This old Carcass is a fortunate guy. He's able to live 2 lives in this old Carcass, and we're going to talk about what it takes to survive on a minimum budget with just a single person, and even Lynn and I are able to do it. So let's talk about it. I just dropped off Lynn at work. The sun is just coming up. Boy, the shadow was long. Last night it got down to 17 degrees. That was cool. We're still sleeping with sheets, so I guarantee you that Lynn tonight will want more than just sheets. So this old Carcass, yeah, you know how I keep saying go, and I will keep saying go. How many times, or how many of your friends can say that they've lived 2 lives? I think it's important. I mean, sure, we're comfortable. We like our countries, and we're comfortable in that. We were raised on that. And we're proud of where we come from. There's no question about that. I don't care what country you come from. You may be annoyed with your politics. You may be annoyed with your news. You may be annoyed with your neighbors. But at the end of the day, there's still this, tie to your country. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing. My sports team is the Vancouver Canucks. Always has been. Probably always will be. My East Coast team is Montreal, but for me, the Canucks, which are a hockey team, they used to have a thing called Canuckleheads. So you do get tied, and what's interesting about going to a place that has a lot of English is that you can quickly see the cultural differences. It's not just language, right? And so that cultural difference allows you to live a separate life, another life, a slice in the diary that talks about your adventures in another country. And guys, we used to go to the VFW in Anglaise a lot for lunch and shoot some pool and various things. And what I noticed was a lot of the guys that served in the military, they weren't living the second life. And sure, they were in another country, but they were still wrapped up in what was. And, there's all sorts of different reasons as to why, right? Financial, all sorts of things. But I do Financial Fridays mainly for the people who have a minimum budget to work with, right? A minimum pension, etc. And but in all of that process, enjoy what's going on around you, right? Oh, I'm going to fall over here. I think it's really important. You can't get away from all of it. Trust me, you just can't. And it's why I've constantly said, take advantage of the Philippines' fact that they have large expat areas. Negros is huge. You know that I promote Cebu and Angeles a lot because there's a lot of expats there and they have a hospital system there. And quite often when we start looking at, this tropical paradise thing, we often lose sight of the fact that a big part of what we take comfort in our Western countries is to get that extra 10 years of life. The average age in the Philippines is 72. Now that's got to tell us something, because it's not that the healthcare isn't there. In many cases, it's just too far away. And it's not they're healthier than we are. They are. You know, they're not obese, although that's on the rise like crazy there. But they're not obese to the same level that we are in Western countries. It's just that we have access to a medical system and utilizing it. And this is part of the reason why I say that $1,000 US budget, whoo, that's tight. And you are going to have to do something that you may not have been used to doing. It's the reason why you only have 1,000 is because maybe you never bought a house, you're not able to sell it, so you've got a chunk of cash to work with. You know, it's all sorts of different reasons. And so, you know, you're going to need to be even more vigilant about your savings, okay? Because as I mentioned on Financial Fridays, your budget, set it, okay? Set a budget. Do not fluctuate from it. And your pension, etc., is usually, it's pretty stable. What's going up and down is that currency rate. And yes, when I set the thresholds, US dollars 50, Canadian 40, when I set those thresholds, that's based on long-term data. And in order for you to survive through the lulls of 6 months, etc., you're going to need to save. But in all of that, you don't need to spend a lot of money to relish in the culture. You just need to get outside, right? It is a lot of fun. There are lots, well, let's put it a different way. When I got there the first time, there was an info card in the hotel room. And one of them was, how many islands are there in the Philippines? And you got to answer, and then you flip the card over, and and the answer was high tide or low tide. It changes. The other one was, how many Filipinos are living out of the country at any given point? 25%. You know, can you imagine? That's not the size of Canada, but it's pretty bloody close. Is elsewhere in the world. So there are enough people that if you're sitting there with a shirt on that has a Canadian flag, an Australian flag, a US flag, you know, I've been approached by people, oh, I lived in Canada, what part were you in? You know, and you strike up a conversation. And, you know, we've been invited to people's houses that we barely know, all sorts of things. It's been fun, guys, and there's a reason why we keep going back. It's not because Lynn and I are married. Trust me, when my goal was to ultimately snatch her up and bring her back to Canada, and we would just travel the world, but we weren't going to spend 6 months away. But all that process of trying to get her immigration and such, I started to really, really like it there. And that was even during times where I still hadn't shed the shit of my Western brain and started to embrace the Philippine culture and enjoy it. It's not a paradise, guys. There is no such thing as paradise. It does not exist, okay? The thing of movies is just that. It's the thing of movies. It doesn't exist. At the end of the day, you have to be able to live there. And living there is not a holiday. And it's why I keep stressing, your first visit there, if your goal is to try and hunker down, find a place to live, yada, 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 the very first thing you're going to do when you arrive there is go straight into business mode. You're going to have time to relax and all that sort of thing. But do not treat it like a vacation. What you need to do is experience the Philippines. Experience it. Observe it. Be a, what was the movie Blue Thunder? Jaffo. Just another fucking observer. Just observe it. I don't care whether you're a high-strung guy, a low-strung guy, um, a shy couple, or a couple that, you know, really wants to get out there and see stuff, okay, do scuba diving, yada, yada, yada. It's important to just ground yourself. And, you know, one of the things when we thought that Lynn might never get to Canada because Canadian immigration was going through this massive change, we started looking at places like Belize and other places that Lynn could get to, that we could hunker down in. Because remember, I was thinking just move to Canada. So I wanted someplace closer and all of that type of thing. And so Belize was kind of it. Now, we never got there, but the amount of research that Lynn and I did on it was huge. It was huge. And it was about living there. It wasn't about, hey, we could go there, we could go there, we could go there. That was all sort of sideline stuff and side notes because it gave us other things to do once we started living there. But most of it was about, you know, access to hospitals, access to my benchmark, which was movies, because for me, movies meant that there was other things that were available. The government offices were available. As an example, if you're, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because these things change all the time, but the last we looked at Dumageddon, you could do your immigration there, but you couldn't do things like a 13A, okay, which is your long-term visa, your permanent resident visa for the Philippines. So be aware of those kind of things. Look up things like universities, because take some courses. Why not? I don't know about your country, but in Canada, once you hit 65, I believe, that may change to 67, you can go in and audit courses for a very, very fraction of the price. You don't get marks, you don't get grades, you don't get any of that stuff, but you're allowed to audit and participate. They try to get you to participate in a lower level. But they do want you in the school because it does help with you know, youth being able to see that you do have some value to bring to the class. Now, we do know of an Italian friend, hey Adriano, that went to school in Angolese and ended up teaching a course there as well. Okay, so don't discount your skills on what you might be able to make. Now, again, you have to start thinking Filipino when you're there. Think the culture that you're in. So if you're going to get paid, let's say 800 pesos a day for a job that most Filipinos are getting 400, maybe 500 pesos a day, think of it in context of what you could do with that 800 pesos, because you've already got your pension. So, you know, we used to say to a friend of ours, Michael, hey, all you need is 100 pesos. Come with us. You're going to have a cup of coffee. It was about the yammering, you know, let's blah, 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 to each other and talk and do all that sort of thing. It wasn't about the meal. It wasn't about, you know, so often when you go to a restaurant in Canada with your friends, if you don't eat, what the hell, man? What I've noticed in the Philippines is expats get together and who cares what who's going to do? You know, you might have a meal, you may not have a meal. Nobody cares. It's about just getting together. Okay, I kind of rambled on, and Len and I are getting ready to go to the Philippines. So these are going to be some videos that are going to be slotted in while we're traveling. Enjoy your day, guys, and don't forget to subscribe. We really appreciate it. Got to cross the road here. Later, Gators.